So, thank you for joining me and being willing to have a little chat about your experience.
Of course, yeah, it's no problem.
I know that there's a lot of stigma around, well, not just hypnotherapy, therapy in general, but I do feel hypnotherapy has it even more so because lots of people are like, hypnotherapy, what is that, right?
Mhm.
So it's quite nice to create some content using past clients like yourself to share, actually, this is what it's like, and just share how you found it, things that changed for you, so that other people who might be interested can get a better idea of maybe what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that when I told people when I was first starting hypnotherapy, they were like, "Oh, you're going to be hypnotized." I was like, "I don't think that's what it is."
Yeah, it's the really common reaction of like, oh, okay, you're going to be like put under mind control and made to like cluck like
Yeah.
a chicken. Um, you think of the stage hypnosis rather than the clinical hypnotherapy. Awesome. Okay, so to get started, can you take us back? Can you remember? I know it's been a while. We started working together in May, so maybe 4 months ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, can you remember before we had sessions what your mindset was like then? What brought you to the point of going, I need some support?
Yeah, I think for probably about 6 or 7 months prior to actually thinking about hypnotherapy, like my mindset was it was very negative. I was in a very low space. It was because of like the way that my skin was making me feel at the time. My eczema started on my hands and my arms, and it spread to my face, which was a lot more difficult to cover up.
Yeah, it
And
impacts you mentally, I think, on a different level when it's your face, right? Because your confidence takes the biggest hit.
absolutely, yeah, it's like your face is how you present yourself to the world, really. So it was almost like I just shut myself away from the world and I didn't want people to see me. I didn't really leave the house very often. I had to take a step back from my job at work. That had even more of an impact on like my mental health. And yeah, I got to the point where I was extremely low. I was having some suicidal thoughts, and it was quite a difficult time, not just for myself, but like for the people around me as well. And there was just a day where I just thought I can't carry on like this, but I didn't necessarily want to give in to those suicidal thoughts. I wanted to make a change, and I think I was scrolling Instagram, and I'd recently found like a lot of other people online that were suffering with similar problems.
Yeah, when you
And
first enter the skin community on Instagram, it's like, oh my gosh, here's my tribe.
yeah, I was like, oh my God, that person looks like me.
Yeah,
This is not just me because like when you go out and about like locally, like there was no one that looked like me. I was like, well, your face is fine and your face is fine, so
yeah,
you're not struggling with this. But then there's this whole community of people, and that was where I first saw yourself.
yeah.
And yeah, it kind of went from there.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I mean, just being this open and honest is why I love the skin community so much
Mm.
because people who are willing to share their stories like this, it's so inspirational for everyone else. Regardless if they share their stories or not, they're still absorbing all of that content and it's empowering for them.
Absolutely, yeah. And I
So,
think as well, that was part of it for me because if I hadn't have found those other people online as well that were
yeah.
going through this, I'd have probably not started on the journey towards feeling less alone with this skin condition.
Yeah, you've got the isolating factor of it as well, especially when it gets to the point, like yourself and so many others, where it's so difficult to leave the house. And I remember that
Mm.
being one of your main goals of like, I want to be able to leave the house again. and be part of society and get your personality back, I think was one of your goals. You'd
Yeah.
lost who you were, you weren't engaging in hobbies, and obviously you weren't working. So understandably, you do become a bit of a hermit, and the isolation
Mhm.
just makes everything worse. Yeah, are you still within the skin community, like online these days?
I am, yeah, and I'll see people and I'll sort of I try and comment where I can just to be like, hey, I'm here too, and this is happening to me.
Nice.
And but yeah, everybody in that community is really supportive and nice. Like there's not been a single person that I've thought, oh well, you're not being very nice about it. So
Good. Yeah, I very, very rarely experience anything like that.
yeah,
I mean, I've been in the community, it's going to be at least 5 years now, and I still
oh
haven't
yeah,
really had a negative experience. Yes, sometimes you have differing opinions when it comes to things like medication or the way to move forward, but it's all about being
Mm.
respectful and being like everyone's on their own journey. What works for one person won't work for another necessarily when it comes to
Yeah, yeah,
medication. Um, Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So your goals, living rather than surviving, we talked about.
yeah.
Yeah. Which
It
I think,
seems, it seems like so long ago since we set that goal now, and it's nice because I do actually feel like I'm living again, which is it's such a nice feeling.
yeah. Yeah. It's when you're in the depths of it, it can be so hard to imagine and you lose that hope and that optimism, right? And then you
Mm.
look back and hopefully even having this sort of Q&A chat today will be quite therapeutic for you because it'll be so reflective to look back and be like, wow, yeah, that was my journey and that's how far I came.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
because you threw yourself into the homework. A lot of people do, but not everyone does. But you were like right on it from week one. You were like, right, yes, I've got this homework. I am doing it, which was
Yeah.
obviously part of the reason why we see progress so quickly. So, um, you also mentioned how you had therapy before, right? But you'd never had therapy with anyone who had experience with skin conditions,
Mm.
or lived with it themselves. Um, how do you find, putting hypnotherapy aside, how do you find that that has altered your experience of therapy, like working with someone who has also gone through it?
No, it's really helped, I think, because I don't think there's been anything that I've said that you've sort of been like, oh, I don't really understand that. Like you physically knew what I was going through, and like that was like the main appeal for me when I first found your Instagram page, and I was scrolling through and I was like, this woman knows what I am feeling right now.
Yeah,
So I felt that you would have been able to support me better than, say, another therapist who didn't have a knowledge of skin conditions.
yeah,
And that was just really important because you do sometimes feel alone within like your support network. Like the people around you can be so great, but they're not going through it, so they don't quite get
yeah.
it.
It's very difficult, especially within romantic relationships, which again was in your
Mm.
goals, right? You said that you weren't really feeling like a girlfriend anymore. You'd lost that kind of romantic
Yeah,
connection. And it is really hard because they're trying their hardest and they're doing everything they can. But if you haven't lived it, it's still you can't 100% get what it's like.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like my partner Jake was so, so supportive, and every day, he'd listen and he'd be there.
Yeah.
But, he admitted himself, he was like, I don't know what to say because I don't know how you're feeling.
Yeah,
And like I really appreciated that honesty,
definitely.
but it was difficult because again you just start to feel like alone, but then like having the sessions with you, it was just I'm going to say life changing. It really was because the difference that I felt just talking to someone who knew exactly what I'd been through, it makes you feel really validated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really important word, validation, for a lot of us within the skin community, whether it's
Hmm.
the isolation and you need to talk to someone who actually gets it, or even like the medical experience of sometimes being gaslit by professionals and needing validation around that. Um,
Hmm.
the sense of losing who you are and having to almost go through grief. I think we talked about grief in your session
Mhm.
regarding job loss and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, validation is definitely a key part of the process. Nice. Okay.
absolutely.
So, I mean, do you remember the first session, like, or the first couple of sessions, like what it felt like to get started and be like, oh, this is hypnotherapy?
Yeah, I remember feeling really nervous on my first session,
Yeah,
and again, not really knowing what to expect. And then as the sessions went on, I feel like we just kind of got into a flow, which was nice. But yeah, the first session, God, it's hard to remember. I feel like I feel
yeah,
like
it
it was
was.
so long ago, but it wasn't that long ago.
Well, it was
But
months ago. We're talking months rather than weeks.
yeah,
First
yeah.
session was where I drew your brain and we talked about like the inner workings of the mind on session one.
Yes, and like the stress cycle, which was
Yeah,
really, that was really eye-opening for me talking about that because um that was a big part of my skin healing journey was lowering my stress levels because obviously there's the cycle of the stress and it releases cortisol and then you get inflamed and then causes
amazing.
more stress and
Yeah.
it was just going round and round and I didn't realize that at the time.
No, you
Like I
know
didn't.
that you're stuck in a bad place, but you don't quite really know what's
Yeah.
going on inside your body. Whereas even,
Mm.
yeah, 4 months later, you're like, oh, stress, cortisol, inflammation, itch. And I'm like, girl, you've got it. Nice. And how did you find the homework during those few weeks that we worked together? So I gave you certain homework to do, and we set you like a little goal every week. Do you remember how you found those?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite goal orientated. I like having a goal to work towards, so I think that worked for me personally.
Great.
And yeah, it was nice because I always felt like it was never too much of a step.
Right.
Like it was never like a big leap to, oh, you're going to do this big, massive thing and it's going to be really scary, but you're going to be fine. It was actually, we're going to take this small step and we can just work from it from there. But I also felt like there was no pressure. Like the
Mm,
next week, you weren't going to be like, oh, well, you didn't do it. So,
yeah,
there was no pressure in it. It was something that I could do if I wanted to do it.
lovely. Yeah, I think that's really key is the size of that goal. As you said, it's got to be something that is achievable and realistic, maybe something you weren't going to do anyway, but not something to the point where it's going to scare your brain. Um, I'm trying to
Mm.
think, can
Yeah.
you remember what one of the goals was not wearing your sunglasses inside a cafe, right? You were using
Yeah.
sunglasses to hide because the your skin was inflamed on your face. You were using sunglasses
Yes.
inside, right, to hide it. So one example was like, okay, when I go and was it meeting your sister for a coffee?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
we were gonna go out but again the pressure was like it wasn't there because you were like, if it's not working, you can put them back on, it's fine.
yeah. Yeah, it wasn't about like, let's not use them all day. I think it was like, let's take them off for a few minutes during that coffee and see how you are. And if you want to put them
Yeah.
on back on, you can. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so I've got some notes here. Um, because on week two, you reported it was easier to get out of bed and you went out to Tesco, which was you're like you leaving the house and you finding
Yeah.
a way to make it easier for you because you went out to Tesco at 7 a.m., which I'm still like, that's impressive.
Yeah. There's no one about at that time and
Yes.
I'm awake anyway, my dog wakes me up, so I thought I could use it as a, okay, well we can go out and we might not see anyone, and when people are doing their shopping they're not really looking at other people anyway, so it's fine.
Yes.
And Tesco 5 minutes down the road, so I can come straight home if I need to. But yeah, it was just a simple, small thing like that
A
I
small
think
step.
without,
Yeah,
yeah,
big
but
lead,
with,
small goals that lead to almost like a domino effect because you go out, you have that experience outside of the house, nothing bad happens, and then you go,
yeah,
huh, maybe I can do it again. Um,
yeah,
because on week three, you then came back. I don't know if you remember this, and you said to me, I took a selfie for the first time in a year and I sent it to my friends.
I did, yeah. Me and Jake were actually going out for a meal for like the first time in
Yeah,
ages
you got a
because
date
like
night, didn't you?
yeah, and like my skin was flared on my face. It wasn't as bad as it had been, but it was still not at a place where I was fully comfortable.
Mm,
But it was, I think, because I was feeling so much calmer from the sessions and like having the hypnotherapy inside, I could talk myself into being okay with it because
yeah,
at the end of the day, like yes, it's a part of me, which I know that when I first met you as well, I was like, this isn't me. And you were like, but it is you. And I was like, no.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I can accept it now and I can be like, well, actually it doesn't change who I am as a person just because my skin looks a little bit different to everybody else's.
I love that. Yeah, I had that written down on week 3 as well. You took a selfie and there was movement towards romance, and even Jake noticed your confidence had changed, and you started working on your Etsy shop.
I did, yeah. My little paper orange Etsy shop.
Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, it's going all right. Yeah, it's nice. I'll pick it up here and there because obviously I'm doing like a course now as well. But
Yeah,
it's nice to have that creative outlet and
yeah,
just little things like I've started making like little earrings out of polymer clay and like when I had the eczema on my hands, I couldn't do that because I couldn't touch the clay. And
yeah.
I'll just sort of sit there making things and I'll be like, I didn't do this before, so this is nice.
Yeah, you definitely have extra gratitude after you've been through something like this, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I have
absolutely.
your little ring on.
Oh, yay! Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. It's so lovely. I've got your bookmark in one of the books as well. Um,
Oh,
week 4. So week 1, struggling to leave the house. Week 4, you went to a concert and stayed over in a hotel.
yeah, I like to make these leaves.
Yeah. And
It was
yeah, how was that?
it was good. It was something that had been planned for well over a year, so I wasn't expecting to be where I was at that time, like
No.
with my skin, like it hadn't spread to my face when I first booked that.
Yeah.
And we'd booked it for my sister's birthday, and it was something really nice that we're both looking forward to. And I was still really nervous about it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
pretend that I was absolutely fine.
No, no.
But again, like the mindset shift that I'd had from these therapy sessions
Mm.
made it so that I could stay calm. I was fine. I had coping mechanisms that I could use. I had little tips and tricks, like I took a pillowcase with me so that I was sleeping on my own pillowcase.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sometimes they're mental tools and sometimes they're physical tools, and
yeah,
sometimes even just taking a pillowcase with you, you don't even need to use it, but you mentally feel calmer because it's there if you need
hmm
to. Yeah, so sometimes it's a mix of both. Amazing. Yeah. You reported that you weren't covering up your skin as much and you felt more creative and your personality was coming back.
yeah, it was really nice. And like just like through talking through these sessions now, like just looking back on the progress that I made, like it's nice to be able to recognize that progress.
Yeah.
And I do genuinely think that if I hadn't have had these hypnotherapy sessions, I don't think I'd have the mindset that I have now.
Mm. It's a funny thing when it comes to therapy because even as a therapist, I know the tools and the tips and the tricks, but I'm
hmm
not in therapy myself. You know, even I have a therapist, and you do often need external support to help you get unstuck. It's asking a lot of yourself to try and get unstuck or to cope with a difficult situation without that extra external support. Um, Brilliant. And then week 5, you went back to work with the biggest eczema flare, but you went anyway without wearing glasses and without covering up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
it
like,
was Honestly, it was just typical that morning. I woke up and my eyes didn't open, and I was like,
Yeah.
something's not right here.
Oh, that
But
feeling when you can't open your eyes, it's just, yeah,
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 and I went to the mirror and I kind of laughed a little bit. Like, I was just like, oh, of course, of course this has happened. But again, like, if that had have happened to me 3, 4 months prior to that,
mm,
I would have cried, I would have got back in bed, I would have been like, no, do not look at me.
yeah,
But again, I was just in such a better headspace where I was like, do you know what? It's fine. It doesn't stop me from going to work. It doesn't stop me from using the computer at work. It doesn't stop me from talking to people. It was fine. And I got home and again, shock horror, nobody had said anything, nothing bad happened. It
yeah,
was it was just fine. Yeah.
yeah. And you got to that point through your hard work. Like I know, yes, you have a therapist supporting you, validating you, helping you come up with these tools. But as I said earlier, like you put in the work. Every day you did the homework, the journaling, the listening to the audios, working on those little weekly goals, you know, and that's what makes these changes, that constant, consistent repetition, which is rewiring your brain. Um,
Hmm.
and then you enrolled on a course. So you went from like not leaving the house and not working, and then you were like, yeah, I'm working now, and also I'm starting a diploma.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I just love it. You jumped right in. So
Honestly, when through this now and you're saying things back to me, I'm like, why am I such an idiot? Why do I do this to myself? But but yeah, I
no,
started a
it's
course.
incredible. It's incredible. How is the data analysis going?
It's going well. Yeah, I'm on my third module now, and it's tough. There's a lot to learn, and I feel like reaching 30, my brain doesn't want to learn in the way that it used to learn.
Yeah,
But
especially when you've
but
had a
with
gap. Like if you've not been in education for a while, then you go back into it. It's like, whoa.
yeah, but I left uni like 9 8 9 years ago, so my
Exactly.
brain's not really had to learn much since then. And
No,
now it's like, oh, you're giving me all this information. But it is going well. Yeah.
fantastic. And then week 6, um, you reported that we'd hit all the goals, leaving the house more, finding acceptance and confidence, improving the romantic relationship, feeling calmer. So in terms of that kind of after, okay, you had 6 sessions, you know, what does your life look or feel like now? Um, can you give me any examples of like things that have changed or that you've overcome?
Yeah, I think life just seems more, I don't want to use the word normal. I don't know what normal is,
Yes,
but it
yeah.
seems more like it used to in that I'm not obsessing over my skin and the way I look, and instead I'm focusing on other things like friendships, relationships,
Mm,
learning this course,
yeah.
getting out more, spending more time with friends and family. And it's when I look back at where I was at the beginning of this year,
Mm.
I think at that point I didn't visualize getting to where I am now.
No.
I think like the difference is, yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's nice to feel that I am in control of my life again.
Ah,
I
yeah.
felt like I'd lost so much control for so long,
Yeah.
and it was scary at times when you don't feel like you're in control of your own life. And
Mm.
yeah, it's just the difference is unbelievable, and like the mindset that I have now, like it still takes work some days. I'm not gonna say that
Yeah.
every day is all sunshine and happy. Like
No,
there's
it's
some
never
days
going to be that
I
way.
still get up and I still think, oh, but why did this happen to me? I don't want to feel like this. But I'm able to turn it around a lot quicker into something positive.
Yeah, those thoughts aren't necessarily dictating your behavior anymore. And
Hmm.
I'm really glad that you shared that about the control because I think that's so relatable for so many people is that you don't feel like you're in control of anything anymore, and that your skin condition is now in control of your life. Um, Whereas once we accept that, okay, we're going to have some of these thoughts, but we
Hmm.
don't actually have to have our behaviors reflect on them, then we see
Yeah.
that big transformation. And so, what would you say to someone who is watching this and who is exactly where you were when you started? You know, what would you share, or say to them? And it can be therapy related, it can be not therapy related, just anything that you'd say to them.
I think just don't lose that hope.
Yeah.
Like I felt so, so close to losing hope. And I think at one point I might have actually lost it all and thought that things were never going to change, things were never going to get better, my skin was never going to heal, and I was just stuck. But just keep going and don't be afraid to try something new.
Mm.
Like trying hypnotherapy was a new thing for me,
Yeah.
but when you're at that point, what have you got to lose? You don't have anything to lose. There's no harm in trying.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think that the power of optimism, and we may have talked about that in sessions, is definitely something that
Mm.
comes up quite often. The power of hope and optimism, and also how that relates to stress and sleep and even pain because of all of our hormones. So thank you so much. This has been really lovely, and it's been really good to just see you again after however long.
No, yeah, it
Um,
has. It's been really nice, so thank you.
Thank you so much.